if I would encourage you to go to my blog, which is www.jgsf1987.com. If I'm a writer, as you can tell, I'm a writer and blogger. Anyway, this is something that I think I need to make very clear. And this is the case for why we ought to be voting for Jill Stein. If you are a progressive. The reason that I'm saying that Jill Stein is our next best option is that if there's anything that where any views actually align together very closely, for many of us, Bernie-crats, it's because if you look at Jill Stein's platform, it's very, very similar to what Bernie Sanders is actually, or if not, the exact same thing, almost word for word. Anyhow, what I am going to make very clear, though, is that Jill Stein makes our case very plainly to the rest of the electorate, and she can potentially get a good enough chunk of the vote, potentially to force her into the presidential debates. So this way, at least we get the progressive message out. Now, if Bernie Sanders decides to should he decide to try to basically make it, should he decide to run on the Green Party ticket, it'll actually generate enough publicity so this way we can essentially get that vote and potentially take away votes from both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Donald Trump, as many of you know, and many of you who happen to be Bernie-crats, like me, like H.A. Goodman, like Cornel West, like Tulsi Gabbard, we're not afraid of Trump. Look, Trump's a moron. I mean, he's not a complete and total moron, but he's a moron. Nonetheless, at least he's playing the part of being a moron. So, with that being said, don't buy into any of the propaganda that Hillary Clinton is our best hope for keeping Donald Trump out of the presidency. That's absolute horseshit. I mean, look at the polls. Hillary Clinton is leading him at best by about maybe 2.5 points. That's nothing. Rasmussen just came out with a poll that shows Trump leading comfortably by 7 points. Now, that's only one of the major polling companies that actually track this thing. I think the Rasmussen poll is not an outlier. I think that is the start of a very massive trend away from the Democrats, should they decide to nominate Hillary. There is still a chance that Bernie can get it. He has not conceded, and for many of you I know are not comfortable with having Hillary Clinton have Bernie Sanders give over his email list of people who backed him up over to Hillary Clinton. I'm with H.A. Goodman on this. I think that Bernie should never do this. Bernie should basically keep it to himself and say to basically anybody, especially Hillary Clinton's campaign, that since they have been giving us essentially crap, or everybody else, and trying to take it into a new bullying stage, Bernie should not do it. That's my personal opinion, and I'm 100% with H.A. Goodman on this. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm pretty sure it won't happen, but we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, I saw earlier on the Hill that Jill Stein was in Burlington, Vermont. That's Bernie Sanders' hometown. Right? Okay. The point that I'm making, though, is that I think, or at least from what I read, was that the two campaigns were talking to each other. And so it has the Democratic National Committee on high alert here. Because I get why Bernie actually endorsed Hillary. It's to basically say, yeah, I'm willing to play ball in terms of the just in terms of at least trying to force if I was going to be in the Democratic Party or the Democratic nominee, I'm not going to try to completely and totally upstage the system in place. So rather than destroy it and then try to build it anew, he's saying, no, I'll be happy to play along with it, but you're going to have to make some massive concessions. Well, Bernie Sanders, and I literally am in agreement actually with Jimmy Dore, and by the way, I would absolutely recommend that you subscribe to his channel. And if you do, he asks, tell him Jgsf1987 sent you. I'll put those links below. So, anyway, yeah. Now, for, basically, Jill Stein actually carries the torch from Bernie Sanders' campaign. And that is the chief reason why we should be actually voting for her, at least as progressives. Now, I understand that many of you will look into Gary Johnson or looking to vote for Donald Trump, or vote directly for Donald Trump about this. Again, I'm going to say this to you. That's your decision. And I would actually understand if you decided to vote for Donald Trump. Personally, if I had to choose between either the progressive at home, but basically the progressive warmonger, or the regressive isolationist, or shall we say more like the regressive peacemaker, which is I think a better way to think of Donald Trump, I would choose the latter. That's just me. Why? A couple reasons. One, everybody, and this is very true, Donald Trump will basically bring back the worst of the previous days of white supremacy. I'm not lost on that. However, you gotta understand one thing. He's gonna have to get majorities to pass it for the 535 voting members of Congress. That means a majority of the 100 senators and a majority of the 435 representatives. Now, I've said this on one of my Facebook videos, and I'll say it again. There's going to be a lot of districts with Republican representatives that did not end up voting for Donald Trump. Just like there will be a few states that elect Republicans that will not vote for Donald Trump. I mean, let me get that at least out of the way. Because of this, the onus is going to be on the Republicans to prove that they're actually competent enough to govern. And if the past 6 to 8 years or so, that's proven to not be the case. I'm not too worried about what the Republicans will be able to do, because in about 2 years after we elect Trump in November, so basically on Tuesday, November 6th, 2018, there's a fairly good likelihood that we're going to get a very progressive Congress, and also a number of progressive governors. That's going to set Trump up to have to defend what he did, because this country is not going to allow this kind of racial supremacy to ever be enacted. Americans don't want to go back to the days of, or at least most Americans don't want to go back to the days of Jim Crow. It's just, think about it. It's not something we're proud of. It's something we'd like to try to get around. We'd like to try to resolve. It's not lost on anybody that it is absolutely time for a national dialogue on race in America. It's just, I mean, it's just what needs to happen. Now, is there always going to be pushback in terms of whenever we make some kind of racial progress? Of course there is. And are race relations now worse than at any other time since about, I would say, the late 60s, mid to late 60s? Oh yeah. This is actually worse than it was back in the basically from about 1980 to 1992. I mean, 1992 was the ultimate worst year when it came to, at least in the time before since about the mid to late 1960s, or early to mid 1960s for that matter. Now, think about this. Well, that's what this is proven to be. Now, is there a chance that this is going to not turn out to be the case? Absolutely. I absolutely understand everyone's concern in terms of Trump, but let me tell you this much: Trump is actually not the biggest danger we got to worry about. It's Hillary. You think Trump is the guy who's going to basically kill you if you don't, or really unleash his supporters on someone who doesn't sing praises to him? Not to the extent that Hillary will. Hillary is a lot more vindictive, and she has basically shown that she holds and harbors massive grudges and will tear anyone down who doesn't, heel to her will, basically. And I will say with a lot of basically, I will say this for the record, which is that I do not plan to go with somebody who is basically, who's vindictive enough to basically try to destroy someone, not just their character and such, but to make sure that their life is a living hellhole. That's Hillary Clinton. That's the Clintons for you. This is why, at least in my eyes, they can never be trusted. Now, Hillary's private server, you know she's going to set it up, or whatever number, whatever ordinal number it is, 9th, 10th, whatever. It's just the next edition of it, or the next setup of it, actually. The point is that you know it's going to be in the White House, and you know offhand that she's going to be using it to get around record-keeping laws again. And you know she's going to send basically top secret SAP style, SAP level intelligence documents, or basically that kind of highly classified information on a private server. You just know she's going to do it. It's not a... If she got away with it now, what's to say that she's not going to get rid of it when she's president? That's the thing. Hillary Clinton is literally a national security liability. Trump, yeah, but Trump's an idiot. Trump, like I said, he's trying to sound like an absolute knuckle dragger. That's just been his campaign shtick the entire time. Has it worked? Yeah. But let me tell you something. As much as I like to think that Donald Trump is a massive idiot, or the amount of times that I'm going to say on here that he's a big idiot, the fact is, he's less stupid than that. He's actually... No, Donald Trump is not a stupid guy. He's a smart guy. I'm not saying that Hillary is stupid either. Hillary, I know, is actually very smart too, as is Bill. But the point is, Hillary, because she comes across as being so distant, even if she is being 100% honest, the problem is that she does not do well when it comes to relating to everyone else. The problem is she has absolutely no principles. I mean, think about it. She's a shapeshifter. She's basically a chameleon. She will take whatever position is... Hillary will take whatever political position is politically expedient for Hillary. Doesn't matter if she's for this or that or whatever. That's one reason not to vote for her. Look, I'm going to tell you this right now. I would personally recommend, if you're a progressive, to look into Jill Stein, or if you're on the more libertarian side, to look into Gary Johnson. Or if you really, really, really don't want to go through a third party to make your point that Hillary is never going to that you will never give your vote to Hillary, and that you're tired of the Democratic Party taking your vote for granted, vote for Trump. I'm going to say that right now. Vote for Trump. Doesn't mean, if it means 4 years, again, watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4 years of white supremacy being exalted by Donald Trump, so be it. Because the Democrats, and specifically Hillary Clinton, brought this on herself. I had said on Facebook, and I'll say it here, if you, and this is a message to Hillary Clinton and also all the Hillbots and Hill Trolls, if you continue to tell people to either A, drop dead, or B, fall in line, do not expect anybody who either backed Bernie Sanders or who was not, or whoever was not for one candidate or the other, to basically turn out in November. Or anybody who's, or telling people that they're that their issues basically don't matter because it's not, because if you actually gave a damn, you would propose solutions to solve it, not have to worry about having to sound somewhere different because someone else is forcing you that way. So actually, this is why I understand Bernie's endorsement of Hillary Clinton. Am I disappointed about it? Yeah. But there's actually a method to Bernie's madness. I'm telling you this as my fellow Berners. Calm down for a minute. I hear you. Everyone hears you. Even Bernie hears you. For that matter. But we need to calm down and take a deep breath here and think for a minute. What is up Bernie's sleeve at this point? Is there a method to him actually doing this? The answer is a big fat yeah, there is. I can completely and totally affirm it. The reason is that we all know that Hillary Clinton is desperate for our votes. Right? Okay. So then Hillary Clinton says that she's going to be doing this and that, and making it so this way we have tuition-free, public university and community, college education at either 2-year community colleges or 4-year state-run universities, either something like here the UC or the CSU system. So yeah, if it's public colleges and universities, community colleges and 4-year universities, there's the for those families that make less than $125,000 a year. That's number one. Public option for the Affordable Care Act. Glass-Steagall, this and that. Just to name a few examples. That's nice. Those are just band-aid solutions. They don't get to the crux of the problem, or when they do, they don't go far enough. To put it in another way, or allowing people who are 55 to buy into Medicare. Make Medicare for everybody. Solves the entire problem. You don't have to revisit this old, because a single payer system is actually what we need. Look, it's not lost on anybody that you don't come across as sounding that sincere. Even if you are sincere, and I'm talking to you, Hillary, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Do not take our votes for granted, and do not browbeat us. If you do, we will not turn out for you. Or we will basically go one of 3 other directions. We will go to, of course, we can do one of 4 things, basically. We can, A, write in Bernie Sanders' name. B, we could go to Jill Stein, which a good chunk of us may end up doing, I would say the vast majority of the Bernie or bust crowd is going to go anyway. And that's about 50% of all of us Berners. So, and expect that number to climb unless you get your act together here. Number 3, some of us that are on the more libertarian side, will go for Gary Johnson. And Gary Johnson, there's also those of us that will, as I said before, writing in Bernie's name. And the final part of it is those that are left over who don't go either to Jill Stein or Gary Johnson, they're going to vote directly for Trump. So basically, you've got the progressive vote going in 4 different directions, and it's not going to come in your area. Even if you're going to say, like, oh, but I'm so progressive. No, you're a chameleon. You pissed away our vote back during the primaries. So, what incentive do we have to back you up here? There you go. So as I said, if Bernie's able to do it, vote for Bernie. I mean, this way it solves the entire problem. But otherwise, your next best option, if you're a progressive, is to go with Jill Stein. It will send the message, I think, very clearly to the Democratic Party that they have been taking our votes for granted for way too damn long, and it is time for them to show that they deserve it. They want our vote. They need to come to us. They need to show us that they have the willpower to push for something. Not just say 1 or 2 things and then, oh, no, we're not going to bother because our big donors, we need money, because the Republicans. That's the oldest excuse in the book. There's 2 parts to this. Democrats and Republicans are 2 sides of the same damned coin. Just one is a lot more vocal about white supremacy than the other is. That's about the only difference. Anyway, I'm going to kill it here. This is Jgsf1987. Out.